Hello, welcome to Weinig Holzer USA. We are in the Weinig showroom here in Mooresville, North Carolina. I'm Brett Hopper. I am the Systems Sales Manager for Weinig. And what we'd like to do today is take a look at some of our ripping solutions that we have. What we've got set up here in our showroom is kind of a hybrid system that consists of our manual RippMax optimizing system. You can run the RippMax as it is, or we can also do optical scanning to feed a Ripp Saw. So we've got a RippMax system coupled with a optical scanner from LuxScan, feeding a Ryman ProfiRip Ripp Saw and an outfeed. So we'll take a few moments and we'll step through what all that means and talk about each component of that. First, we'll focus on the RippMax itself. Kyle, if you'll come over and take a step over here. The RippMax consists of, first of all, this measuring deck right here. There's a line of photosensors inside, and as we pass the board over the sensors, we have an encoder on the chain, and we establish the shape and width and general length of the board. We make an optimizing solution based on the cut list that's in the machine. The board is then transferred to what we call our override station. Lasers shine on the board to show you what the ripping solution is. The operator has a display right here where he can see the ripping solution and he can make override decisions. For instance, if you're splitting a knot or you have wane or something like that, you want to isolate that knot within the rip, the operator can override that. Then we send it to the Ripp Saw, we rip the piece, and you get the optimized solution out of the board. So Kyle, if you want to go ahead and maybe run a board across here. Okay, so if you can see, we have a solution. We have laser lines shining on the board. Basically, he's cutting one 4-inch wide strip out of this board, that edge and that edge right there. So we're going to do an override. It's as simple as push a button, and now we're cutting a 2 1/4 inch strip and a 2-inch strip. We've isolated this knot within a strip so that when you cut that out, you're only throwing away this little piece of wood. We've got this other strip that's clear the full length of the piece. So a great solution, an override. We're going to go ahead and rip this piece and look at the outcome from the Ripp Saw. So it transfers up to a servo position fence. We're feeding our Ryman 18-inch movable blade Ripp Saw. It's got a fixed blade. It's got 4 moving blades. There's a servo fence in front of the machine that positions to the 0 blade. And then we rip the piece. And here's our ripped board right here. As you can see, just as we overrode the solution, there's the piece with the knot isolated. There's the 2 1/4 and the 2-inch piece. Small edges, okay? So that's basically how the RippMax optimizer functions. You can run in automatic mode or you can run in override mode. Typically the system's capable of about 12 boards per minute, 10 feet long, okay? The Ripp Saw is the ProfiRip 450, Travis. ProfiRip 450 4M. It runs at about 265 feet a minute in glue joint quality rip. We'll come back to the Ripp Saw in just a moment. With the RippMax, we have some peripherals that we would like to show you in terms of, hey Donnie, some peripheral software that we have. This is Donnie Kirkland. He's the digital business manager, and he's going to talk about some of his neat ideas that he's got.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Brett. So again, my name is Donnie Kirkland, manager of digital business here at Weinig US. What I'd like to first point out is the outfeed monitor here. With the outfeed monitor, it eliminates the need for measuring tape for the person tailing the Ripp Saw. You know, as the pieces are ripped, the rip solution is displayed on the screen. You know, right now we're displaying 2 rip solutions. The top one being the most recent. The one towards the bottom will be the previous board. And this, as you can see, we have a 2 1/4 and a 2-inch strip displayed in that most recent solution. You know, with this monitor, it allows us to quickly differentiate between the 2 strips without the need of a tape measure. Okay. All right. The second piece of software that I'd like to highlight here is our Office package. Okay. With this Office package, it is a web-based application. Okay. It supports one or many Ripp Saws. All right. As you can see here, we're able to quickly view the statistics of a saw. We're looking at the Rip Assist, which is this saw that's behind us here. Okay. But we can quickly select our RippMax, do a search, and now you can see that our statistics have updated with that search criteria. We also have the ability to select different filters to further filter our search. Okay, we're able to export those statistics into a CSV file where they can be used by external programs. You can see here that we have the search criteria that was used for that statistics report, and also the result set. Okay, in addition to being able to view the statistics, we have the ability to create cut lists. Okay, here we can create cut lists, various cut lists by name. Once the cut list is created, we have the ability to export that cut list directly to the saw. So again, this supports one saw or many saws, and we can export that cut list simply by selecting a saw and clicking the export button. The program itself is totally configurable. We come in, we set up our Ripp Saws, the path to the appropriate directories, and we're off to the races. All right. I'll hand it off to Mr. Travis Richardson.
What's going on, everybody? Travis Richardson. I'm the product specialist for the Midwest business unit cutting, ripping, molding, anything solid wood. And with my experience, maybe you've seen some of the videos in the past, I went over a VarioRip 310 2M with a compact infeed. And that's my specialty. What I used to be a technician in is Ripp Saws. So I'm tasked today with going over the PR450 4M saw. The PR450 represents a 450 millimeter arbor, which is about 18 inches. And then we also have a 4M, which is 4 moving blades. So we're going to pop the hood and take a look at what we got here. So some things that you'll notice right from the start versus the predecessor, which is the KR450, is we have a bigger window here to be able to see what's going on in the machine. But once we open the hood, you'll really see the big changes that we made on this machine. Number one, of the first thing I'm going to point out is the outboard bearing. This is a new design. So with this outboard bearing, there's no more tools to remove this outboard bearing. We've got a locking device here, 2 handles. Break all that loose, this comes out. That gives us access to our blades. The blades now can be put into different positions in the machine, so there's not a yoke and a hub assembly designed for each position. They can be rotated through into different positions. The next one is we got a nice bright light in here to help light up this cutting area. And then we have different types of pressure hangers for our top pressure rollers. We still have the dip chain on this machine. This machine in particular runs 256 feet a minute, but we also have a split chain machine that we can get up to 400 feet a minute. When you're combining that with an in-feed system like this and a PR450 running 400 feet a minute, you can be looking at 16 to 18, 10 to 12 foot boards a minute, depending on a few different factors, but that's how you can kind of gauge what your production numbers are. And we did a great video earlier this week at Cutter Woodworking, and they kind of go over some of those. So check that video out. You'll learn a lot about what they're doing, and it's a very similar setup to what we have here in our showroom. Some other things we can take a look at that you might see is in here we have a lot of different ways that we're measuring, monitoring boards going through the machine through different sensors, a different system than we used to have. But this is one of the bigger saws in our lineup. The step above this is the KR610, which gives you a 24-inch arbor, and you can have up to 6 moving blades. If you guys ever want to see a video, an in-person demo, we can do a Zoom and be glad to show you every aspect of this machine. But that's basically about it on the PR450. I'm going to turn it back over to Brett, and he's going to keep on going and explaining the in-feed of the machine.
Okay, thanks, Travis. So we talked about our RippMax, Ripp Saw, and the outfeed and the software. The RippMax is like the latest iteration of our ValueRep line. We've been building ValueRep, Rip optimizers at Weinig for several years. We've kind of culminated in this RippMax ValueRep version. But as we developed the latest version of RippMax with the software, all the new optimizer, we kind of co-developed this optical scanner. The question always is, okay, I buy a RippMax today, but in 2 years I want to add a scanner to it. What's the easiest way to do that? So while we were doing the RippMax and doing the mechanical design, we also thought about what would it take to come in and add an optical scanner to this line. So a while ago we showed you the measuring station at the front of the line where we measured the board, we optimized the board. Normally that position is up here right next to the servo fence. So we've designed it to where if you buy that and you want to add a scanner later, you simply take that piece and you slide it back. You come in and you drop in this short conveyor and this scanner, and now we utilize that to measure the width of the board so we can position it in the scanner, the length of the board so we know how far out to run the cameras, and then we bring the board into the scanner. The cameras go out and back to scan the board and make an optimization result, and then we feed that to the saw. So this is our EasyScan RT scanner. We're going to open the hood up, take a look inside. Ready? Okay, so the EasyScan RT. Basically, we have two camera boxes inside of here, and they're mounted on mobile rails, and there's a servo motor. So as I said before, we measure the board width. We have these chains that bring it in and center the board under the cameras and stop it. The cameras go out, top and bottom, and take an image, top image, bottom image. And then that board is discharged and optimized. The next board comes in, and as the cameras come back, we capture the image top and bottom of board number 2. While we're doing that, the first board is going out, is being fed into the Ripp Saw. So it's just out one board, back the next board, out one board, back the next board. It keeps our production rates up. And again, as Travis mentioned at Cutter Woodworking, we have a system like this doing about 18 boards a minute. The camera boxes are sealed. Inside we have the cameras, lasers, LED lights. And just as on our chop scanner, they work on the same software, the same optimizing routine. The lights and lasers illuminate the board. The camera captures the reflections, analyzes the data, and says, hey, this is the board, it's this big, it's this wide, it has a defect at this location, this location, this location. How are you going to rip it? While you're making a ripping decision, you're also looking for a cross-cutting decision. So this is a true two-dimensional optimizer. It's not just ripping linear footage of strips. You're looking for fixed length components within those strips. Also grades. If you have a grade for a one-face clear or a two-face clear product, or you can allow some wane in some product, the system's smart enough to figure that out, to rip it appropriately so you get the best possible product downstream for your next process. Okay? Basic scanner. We're going to close it up, and we're going to run a board. All right, green light's on. We measure the board, we know how wide it is. Take it in, cameras go out, and we capture the board image. So this is the top image, the bottom image of the board. It's a nice clean board. We've got some defect down here on the end. Big knot there. Got a big knot here. We have some edge. This green represents an edge defect, so there's some wane in that board. And we're ripping this down to 3.25 inches, and the yield on this board is 79% combination yield because this shows up as a piece of waste. The green image here is we made a board here, but because within our grading rules we're discarding these items here, the end is waste. So that's a 79% yield board. Not very interesting. It's one little strip of wood, but you know, that's what we run. So, okay, we're going to go ahead and rip that board. Just to complete the cycle. The board is on the servo fence. The optimization result gets sent to the fence, sent to the blades. Machine comes on. And as before, here's our solution. One nice clean strip in the end. We know from our two-dimensional optimizer that this is a piece of waste, and the rest is usable wood based on the cut list that's in the machine. Okay? So, again, this is an overview of our RIP optimizing systems. We have a lot of different varieties, a lot of different configurations we can put together. RT scanning, RippMax optimizing, a variety of Ripp Saws from 100 foot per minute, 100 foot per minute machine with 12-inch arbor up to 24-inch arbor at 400 feet per minute, 6 moving blades. So again, we don't really want to sell you a machine, we want to sell you a solution. So to meet with you and to discuss your needs, your pains, what can we do, what technologies do we have to bring to bear to help you in your day-to-day operations, your production rates. That's what we do. So, any questions, reach out to your local Weinig agent. You can call Weinig direct, and we look forward to hearing from you.